On today's podcast, we sit down with Jobst Nierman, founder of RBK Fusion, which is a leading artist agency and concert promoter in Germany. We discuss the current German market, how its evolving tastes are affecting new artist strategies, as well as the ability to break new talent in the German market. We also discuss his creating of new music festivals in the area, as well as serving a new generation of audiences, and much, much more. Insiders, are you ready? Welcome to MUBUTV's Insider Podcast, where our mission is to educate, empower, and engage artists and music business professionals who are dedicated to having a successful career in the new music industry. Here are your hosts, Ritch, Esra, and Eric Knight.
Welcome back, Insiders, to another episode of the MUBUTV Insider Podcast, where our mission is to educate, empower, and engage your music career. On today's episode, we're with Jobst Nierman, founder of RBK Fusion, a leading artist agency in Germany. We discuss the realities of the German music market for live music, the challenges that face new and up-and-coming artists, and serving a new generation of audiences. But first, a word from our sponsor. Hey, Insiders, are you looking to take your music career to the next level? Then you need to know about the Music Business Registry. The Music Business Registry is the leading music industry publisher of the most up-to-date contact information for major and independent record label A&R, music publishers, artist managers, music attorneys, music supervisors, and much, much more. The Music Business Registry is the trusted industry standard and source serving the music business community for over 28 years with the most accurate and up-to-date contact information available. Their titles include the A&R Registry, the Film and Television Music Monthly, the Music Publisher Registry, and the Music Attorney Registry. All of their publications are available in print, PDF, CSV, or online subscription. Visit them now at musicregistry.com and receive a 10% discount by using coupon code MUBUTV10 at checkout. That's musicregistry.com, coupon code MUBUTV10. When you're ready to put your music to work, musicregistry.com.
Welcome back, Insiders. Today's featured interview is with Jobst Nierman, who is the founder of RBK Fusion. RBK Fusion is it's a German international music agency. And what was so fascinating to me about this conversation, Eric, was the fact that he talked about the changing nature of the German music market, but more importantly, he talked about the challenges that he faces as an agency with new talent in Germany today. And that, I think, is going to be the most interesting aspect that our listeners are going to want to know about.
Yeah, I really think it goes back to the conversations that you and I have had privately about that whole upper class and middle class and lower class of the musicians, and how these superstar acts are going away because obviously they're getting much older. And how are you replacing that? And I think those are one of the hard-hitting questions that we asked him, where he realized, yeah, that's a big problem. And I think that's happening on a global scale in the touring market, not just in Germany.
You're absolutely right. And he talked about the changing nature of the audience's music expectations in Germany, which is a very interesting one, considering they're one of the largest markets in the world.
This is a great interview, Insiders. So sit back, relax, and enjoy our featured conversation with Jobst Nierman.
Jobst, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
You know, I always like to start these interviews with a question that I ask all the guests, which is, when in your life did you know that the music business was going to be your professional career path?
Maybe when I was 8 years old, because I was educated, I started with the flute, then I was a trumpet, piano, and then I started to sing. I sang my whole life, I sang as a, all the disco, Bee Gees and so on. I performed, I sang in the house, so on. And then I decided after my school exam, I decided to study opera singing. And then my parents told me, maybe you should also learn a regular job. And then I learned, I had the chance to study cultural management. So, and during my breaks, my holidays, I did several internships at the music festivals, classical music festivals. And suddenly our production manager from the classical music festival asked me, after my opera singer exam. I did over 120 shows per year. And then he asked me, hey, there's a rock and roll company. They're searching for a guy who has some idea how to manage regular classical orchestras and a crazy violinist. His name was Nigel Kennedy. So please think about if you can help them to arrange a German tour. And it was a German tour of the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra and Nigel Kennedy. And I said, okay. And they gave me they paid me good. And I said, okay. And then I realized they did also rock and roll shows. And so at the end of the day, I said, okay, singing is wonderful, but I love this job to arrange, to build up tours, to create, to be a creative, and so on. So that's my, and then I started to become concert promoter. I manage artists, and out of a sudden, through many people, I met Jet Lieber in Los Angeles, and then he invited me. Okay, can you help me out in the studio? And then I had this a close relationship with the studio here in LA, the Nightbird Studios. And so then I came back to Germany, and I said, okay, let's do what I learned, concert promoter, and that is what I love. My love is to organize shows, to organize tours, to organize tours for international artists. I love it.
Jobst, what's the state of live music and the industry as a whole in Germany today?
It's getting more and more important. The people love live music. They, besides the fact that we had the pandemic situation, but at the end of the day, people are, they are buying tickets again. They are visiting the shows. We are starting our live business by the end of March again. Means we had 2 years of no shows, no concerts. So let's see what happened. But I know and I realized that the people, they are hungry to visit shows, to see artists, to not to be at home, to have party, to have the social life again back. And you see it in restaurants, and you will see it in the shows. Doesn't matter if it's good, big arena shows or club shows. When my taxi driver to the airport in Berlin Saturday morning. At 7 o'clock, he said, since 3 o'clock I'm driving, and he said, hey, my guests are a clubber and so on, and they're not finished at 4 or 5. They will go to the next party. He said they are so hungry, they need more and more, and not then, That's I think this is the situation at the moment in Germany. And let's see what happened, and hopefully the pandemic situation will be over soon. At the moment, the numbers are high, unfortunately. So hopefully we are not getting another lockdown. But I don't think so. But the people are hungry and they need music. I think music is one of the most important things in our life.
No, I would agree with you. Absolutely. Your company, Jobst, RBK, you seem to be involved in a lot of areas of the business: management, cultural events, promotions. Can you tell us about the company?
Yeah, the company is based on the traditional concert promoter business, like to get international artists, bring them on stage in Germany. But meanwhile, we extended our we promote artists in Austria, in Switzerland, in France, with our partners over there. So we represent, for example, an artist like Bonnie Tyler in several countries. So that we are doing. The other thing is that we are thinking that we need also do something for family entertainment. Means we are working on new concepts regarding family entertainment, or readings, for example. So that is what we developed during the pandemic years, so that we have to diversify our business. Then we have also a department with our young bookers who are really enthusiastic in booking upcoming artists. That's a really difficult business, and I say always chapeau what they are doing, because they're working not for arenas or some arena shows. They are working for club shows, and they hope 50 people are coming to see this. And artists are also, they have the whole hope in my colleagues to say, hey, you guy, I trust you. I give my career in your hand, and please make us successful. And this is a huge responsibility. And one of my colleagues has over 30 acts. He's working on he 24/7.
That's a lot of acts.
Yeah. But he love it. And when I tell him, hey, they are not coming on the same time. But, it's like, and his hope is, that one act will be the act.
Right.
And so this is the booking department with smaller acts. And we have developed also ideas we are related to a bigger group, to the second biggest ticket provider in Germany. And we have developed new festival now. And festival, a mixture between good food, like 5-star, 3-star Michelin star cooks, and good drinks, wine, champagne, and rock. So we do this in a really nice area in south of Germany from next year. And we do this with one of the best wineries of Germany. And I think we need to develop new ideas. We need to develop new concepts for our target group, because traditional-wise, my parents, they went to classical concerts, to opera and so on. But the generation now, 50 years old, I grew up with all, rock and roll, with Queen, with AC/DC and so on. And look at the AC/DC shows, who are visiting the AC/DC shows. They're old. We are doing now 50 Cent, and I grew up with 50 Cent, and my son is 50 years old. He's listened to 50 Cent too. There was a gap between, nobody was interested in the older artists. But now we have a revival of these artists. And this is what we realize, that the heritage artists, they are really successful. Look at the tours, Genesis, Rolling Stones, AC/DC, Bruce Springsteen, all these Scorpions. They're older, but the ticket sales are incredible good.
It makes me wonder, Michael Rapino addressed this issue a couple years ago at a conference conference about 4 years ago, and he said it concerns him greatly that when he looks at the world concert market, that the top moneymakers economically are in an age group that he sees coming to an end, where they will not be able to perform. And when he looks underneath that, he sees very, very, very little. He doesn't see, 7 or 8 people stepping up to do that. What he sees is a lot of people on the smaller end, a lot of 5,000 to 10,000 seaters, but none of the people like you're talking about, like the Genesis or the Rolling Stones. He says that's almost like an era that he will see come to an end, which is interesting, and I'm curious if you see that as well. That seems to be what you're talking about.
It's exactly what I mean. Is if you think about who will fill up, stadiums in future, maybe Coldplay, yes. U2, they're also old, meanwhile. But if they are not performing anymore, then you have a huge problem. And this is what I realized also. If you if we are thinking about that, that you're asking me how can we develop, how can we introduce new artists? And if I would know that, I would be a billionaire, I think. Because it's the most difficult thing to do, the most difficult thing. And I think we did the mistake not yesterday, we didn't make the mistake 1 beat or 1 year or 10 years ago, we made the mistake maybe 15 years ago. Because we were focused, we all were focused on the bigger act. I want to have this big act, I want to have the big act. And we invested a lot of money in it. Who will promote it, who is able to promote that, and then Live Nation grew up, Live Nation who always represent the big artists worldwide, usually. And now, suddenly, we like a wake-up call, hey, who is the next Genesis? Who is the next Stones? We do not have them. We don't need the next Stones, Rolling Stones, but we need, all the arenas with a capacity around 10 to 15,000. Who can do that? Katy Perry, yes, but maybe only for 5 years. You have no guarantee anymore, and so this is a big mistake that we haven't invested, and that is also what I realized. We should have invested much earlier in new artists, much earlier, because we will have a problem in 5 to 10 years on our table.
Let me ask you, Jobst, does RBK work with a lot of local German talent?
Not. No, unfortunately not, because we are coming from the international area, because my senior partner, Klaus Böhnisch, he was managing director of Mama Concerts. Mama Concert was, worldwide promoter of Michael Jackson and so on. So we had this international thing it's like in our DNA, but we are working on it. We need to do that, but it's a work in progress.
Let me ask you, how has Germany as a market, because it's one of the most important markets in the world, musically, how has Germany's musical tastes evolved over the last 15 years in your mind? I mean, you've been on the front lines of it. So how would you say the tastes of the German music consumer have evolved over the last 15 years?
It's a good question and a difficult question to answer. It's a mixture between German music means, hip-hop, German hip-hop and rap. And also not so internationally, not so many English music. So we are really if you look in the radio stations, domestic artists are really present, much more than 10 years, 15 years ago. And if you see, and this is a problem to introduce international artists to the German market, is because the radio stations are playing 60 to 70% German domestic artists. So the other 30%, all the international artists have to share. Means you have then Katy Perry, Ariana Grande, all the big stars. If you have them internationally, then have you for upcoming artists a little share only. This means to get the radio is becoming more and more difficult for international artists, for upcoming international artists. So it has to go through all the playlists. And this is what I realized at my son is 15 years old. He's not listening to radio. He has his playlists. They are listening to music on the schoolyard. And out of a sudden, 4 years ago, I realized when he was under the shower, he listened to Elvis Presley. And I said, why are you listening? How can you listen to Elvis Presley? Hey, it's totally cool, I love Elvis Presley. And now they love all Eminem, all the artists, from they also this generation is really they're listening to the music we grew up or we listened to 15, 20 years ago. But also they know exactly what happened today. So they are much more, I think they have much more knowledge from music than we had at this age. Because we only had to listen to radio stations and we listened to, then we were introduced to Sting and all these acts and said, oh, I like Sting, so I will buy a CD. Or no, a record at this time, a record.
Right. Exactly.
I think this is really, and it's becoming, this makes it really difficult. You need the influencers, you need all the marketing, several marketing things to bring a new artist up.
Hey Insiders, we hope that you've been enjoying our featured interview. Stay tuned because we've got so much more value coming your way. But before we dive back in, a word from our sponsor. Hey Ritch, you're the founder, CEO, legend of Music Business Registry. Tell us what the Music Business Registry is all about.
Well, what it's about, Eric, is it's a company that is designed to provide the most accurate and up-to-date contact information for the music business. So if someone is looking to reach the A&R community, if someone is looking to reach music publishers, if someone needs to reach artist managers, if someone needs to reach music attorneys, if someone's looking to place their music into film and television and needs to reach all the music supervisors, that's the contact information that we provide. We've been doing it for 28 years. We're sort of the industry standard, if you will, for the music business and have been serving them since 1992. So that's what we do.
Amazing. So if I wanted to find out, let's say A&R people from Warner Brothers, let's say, I can just go in there and find that in the A&R registry?
Absolutely. You'll find all of the Warner Brothers in there. You'll find the Warner Brothers in LA, Warner Brothers in New York, Warner Brothers in Nashville, Warner Brothers in London, Warner Brothers, probably in Australia as well. So those are the main territories that we cover.
Amazing. And we're offering all of our insiders right now that are listening, if you visit musicregistry.com and use coupon code MUBUTV10 at checkout, you'll get a 10% discount off your first order. That's musicregistry.com, coupon code MUBUTV10. Anything else you want to say, Ritch?
Well, when you're ready to put your music to work, musicregistry.com.
Jobst, what is your criteria at RBK for taking on a new artist as a client?
Criteria is that more than 3 people of the team like the artist and are thinking this artist is good. This is one policy we are doing. The other criteria is that the artist has to, the artist has to be able to tell a story, has to be authentic, and this is really important. Yeah? If an artist is not touching me, I'm not interested to work with. This is the most important thing for our business. Even when I managed artists, it was like, hey, I have to believe in the artist, then we have a chance. If I see it only, okay, maybe I can earn money with this artist, forget it. You should not do that. You should be not the biggest fan, but because fan is, related to fanatic, but you should be a little fan from your artist, with a little bit with a distance, but to see, hey, this is the best artist. If you see the USP, we need to find out what the USP is. If the artist has a USP, then we can book them, or book him, her. Unique
and USP is
position.
Okay, unique selling proposition. Okay. That makes sense. You've talked about a lot of the challenges that new artists have in Germany with the 60/30 and radio. What are the opportunities that exist for new German artists? I mean, how do new German artists break today in Germany? What are the opportunities that they have in that particular territory?
You need patience, a lot of patience. You need, if I see some colleagues of mine, they invested nearly 5 to 6 years to develop an artist, and that's hard work. That's really hard work. So you need a good team. Second, you need also a label who is willing to invest, and doesn't have to be a major label. It has to be a label what believes in you and believes that could become successful, and then a lot of luck, and it's becoming more and more difficult. And if you see all what I said, I mentioned to said Bisla on Sunday, all artists, they have a vision. The artists who are performing here at the Music Expo, they have a vision. They have hope, and they have a vision of their career. And they have also a vision that somebody like me and my colleagues who are representing agencies and promoting concert promoters, they have hope, hey, maybe they pick me and maybe they help me to become successful. And this is huge responsibility, and sometimes, they are really disappointed, and to say if they didn't pick up from anybody. So it's a tough business. It's more simple to handle big acts and say, okay, let's do an arena show, than to handle really sensitive upcoming artists, because the hope they have, this investment they emotionally and from time-wise investment they are doing in their career, you can't tell them, okay, forget your career. It's really hard. And I do not. If I would know how to do that, I would tell you.
I don't know if anyone knows how to do that, really. I don't.
Let me ask you, Jobst, is the German market open to certain styles of music more than others?
The radio stations are dominated, the popular radio stations are dominated by remixes, by DJs, Robin Schulz and so on, by remixes. If you look at the top 10 of the radio stations, at Germany, the popular conservative, then you have a lot of remixes, of DJs there. Then you have a lot of this German hip-hop, which is really popular. And then it depends on the area. Munich, Bavaria is a typical good for classic rock. It's classic rock. Berlin is not a classic rock. It's independent. It's more and more independent. And so mainstream, yes, we have the mainstream thing, but which genre? Germany is not the hard rock thing, but hard rock is also when you asked me what changed in the last year, the rock, arrived in the middle of the society. Meanwhile, means that rock, as girlfriends make an appointment to say, hey, let's have a drink, we go into a club and listen to rock music, not only, and then they are drinking wine or whatever in the club. This changed. 20 years ago, it was only the rock fans were there. Now it arrives in the middle of the society. It's like, it's hip to go to rock concerts. If we look, for example, to the AC/DC shows, they are all adult, or a Motorhead, unfortunately, not anymore. But there were managements, there were, like people who were top manager of huge companies and so on.
Yes, Germany was probably the biggest rock market in Europe for many, many years, in the 70s and 80s, early 90s too. I mean, enormous. Hard rock did very, very well in Germany. Metal too, exactly, very, very well. I see that RBK represents some of the world-renowned acts such as Lenny Kravitz, 50 Cent, just to name a few. Do you represent them exclusively just for Germany or for other territories as well? And how do those deals work?
Only Germany. The deals work with an agency, and to make a deal, and you tell the agent that you are thinking that you are able to do the best job for the artist and to get the best result. That's it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Great. No, that's honest and direct.
Jobst, let me ask you, are there any books or films that have really resonated with you professionally speaking that you could recommend to our audience? Anything that inspired you growing up or in the business? Books, movies?
I'm a huge fan of Richard Branson. Losing My
too.
Virginity
Wow.
was, it was like, hey, what did this guy did? What did he do in his past, and how he developed from a publisher for a student magazine to one of the most influenced and open-minded guy. And this is a guy, honestly, this is a guy who inspired me. And I just have on my iPad a book from him. I read on my flight here to LA. Yes, Richard Branson. That's my guy.
Yeah, he's a
Big influence on me, yeah.
Huge influence. And we had someone yesterday who worked for him, Phil Quadraro, who worked for Richard, and he said he was one of the best people he had ever. And Phil was the chairman of Virgin Records in America. He was the chairman of Warner Brothers. He was the chairman of EMI North America. And he said Richard was one of the most influential people and one of the smartest people he had ever met or worked with in his life. So he knew Richard very well. He ran Virgin for 11 years.
Yeah.
So in America. So he launched it in America in 1986 and ran the company until 97. So he knew Richard very, very well.
In 2008, I arrived at the hotel here in LA, and Richard Branson was at the front desk with me. And I thought about it. Should I ask him now, to maybe have 5 minutes only to talk with him about life, about how you see the life, the world, whatever. But I thought maybe he's stressed, maybe, no, I didn't do it. I should have done that. I should have.
Yes.
You should have, yeah, because it's hard. You never get those chances again. I in 2019, it's January 1st. It's 2019. It's New Year's Day. I'm on the corner of 75th Street in New York City and 5th Avenue waiting for a friend. It's freezing cold. Who comes walking by and stops and is looking in his, and I recognize him, but Steven Spielberg. And I was thinking the same, but I took the chance to talk to him. He was the nicest man. I just said, thank you so much for the brilliant work you've given us. And he couldn't have been more kind. He couldn't have been kinder or warmer or friendlier. But so I always try to take those chances if I get to meet my heroes, because I know like you were saying, you never get that chance again, so anyway, okay. Jobst, what advice can you offer our listeners who are wanting to pursue a career in the talent agency business or in the concert promotion business like you have?
I mentioned before that my wife is always telling me that, Jobst, you have the best job you can have on this planet. You manage with emotions. You manage emotions. You manage artists. You can do something good for people. The people, if they're in the shows, they are thankful, they are enthusiastic, they have fun, and you can organize that, you can manage that. So this is a gift. It's a big gift, and I'm really thankful that I have the gift, that I have sometimes a vision to say, hey, let's work on this show and let's bring fun and music to the people. To get to make this move is you have to be enthusiastic. You have to believe also in you, because I started not to get the big artists. At the first moment, you are working with small artists. You need to be open-minded. You need to be, to develop the investment of time in a new artist is the same like the investment of time in a big artist. And you should be, my voice teacher told me one thing, he said, you always need a little bit Italian, Sicilian arrogance. Sicilian arrogance is that your mom and your dad said always to you as a young boy, You are the most intelligent, you're the nicest, the most beautiful, and so guy on the planet. You should not believe that. But, this is Sicilian arrogance, means that to get through the people, not arrogant, but to say, hey, I can give something to you, and because it takes a lot of press on your shoulder, not a lot of, it's if you are not performing, you'd, as I said before, you get disappointment from the artist, you get disappointment from the agent, from everybody. So you need to be patient, you need to be motivated, and you need to have a vision.
Jobst, what advice can you offer our listeners who are wanting to pursue a career as a recording artist? What advice would you give them?
They should have also what I said. They need a vision. They need a vision, and they should be really motivated, and they should accept 15 no's minimum, and to say, okay, next. Maybe at some point I will get a yes. And I think that don't give up. Don't give it. If you believe in you, if you're listening to if people are telling you, you are really talented, your music is really great, believe in you, but ask people to ask them for their really honest opinion. That's really important. You need it, like we need it. This is, you have to reflect yourself, and if at the 100, if there's what I learned when I started opera singing is, if somebody is telling you if you are 17 years old or 16 years old, you are really talented, then you should study, then you should invest all your time into that, what you are doing, like in singing or rehearsing, trumpet playing, whatever. If somebody is telling you at the age of 30 you are talented, you should think about maybe to switch the job.
Very, very, very well said. Jobst, I can't thank you enough for doing this. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Wow, Eric, this was a really interesting conversation. This is a conversation that I've had with other people before, especially about the German music market. And it was the part that got me the most was when Jobst talked about the evolving tastes in the German music market.
Yes.
I've seen this happen in America, where America for the last 30, 40 years was very rock-oriented, and that shifted over the last 10 years to much more hip-hop and pop, and the same exact thing is happening with the German music market today. It was one of the strongest, if not the strongest, rock market in Europe, and that is evolving. And how he spoke about not only the evolution, but the changing tastes that are happening as a result with new artists coming in.
Absolutely, Ritch. And I think one of the other things that he brought up that, we've talked about, I think you and I privately and with some of the other promoters that we may have had on the show, is about that whole upper and middle class of the music industry and the touring markets, about, how we've talked about the U2s of the worlds, the Rolling Stones of the worlds. Those are starting to become extinct, and they're starting to go away. Bruce Springsteen's, we don't see I don't see the bands of the future that are playing stadiums. If you're still seeing them, they've been already in the system about 20 plus years. So it's that whole gap, kind of like where we're living in society from a human standpoint. The same kind of shift is happening. And I believe it was somebody at Live Nation that talked about that.
Yes, Michael Rapino talked about that. It was the chairman, about he wonders where the new generation, to what you're speaking of, is going to come, because he was making a point at a panel conference where he mentioned the very thing you're speaking of, how all of the top moneymakers were at, I think at the time he made the statement, they were at 68 or older.
Right.
And that really, and he said it's not so much that, as much as when he looks beneath that, he doesn't see a lot of things coming up on that level.
And Jobst was very concerned about that same thing in their markets.
Exactly. And so it's a very interesting point, because Jobst brought that up, and he talked about, how do you serve a new generation? The new generation audiences. That's going to be one of the most important things. And you know what? I think in listening to Jobst, the thing that I got the most was that it's not going to look the way previous generations have. the way that, the Rolling Stones and those other stadium fillers. It's not going to be an automatic. It may just be a lot more people on a smaller level.
Hey, insiders, thanks so much for tuning into this episode. We really appreciate it. To get show notes, links, and everything that was mentioned during this interview, head on over to our official website at MUBUTV.com/podcast/show notes. If you're enjoying the content and what we're doing here on the show, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts from. And don't forget to rate and review our show over at iTunes. 5-star reviews are always welcome and help to ensure that our podcast stands out on the top-rated and new and noteworthy charts on iTunes in our space. You can also find us on social media at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all ending with the handle MUBUTV, which is spelled MUBUTV. Don't forget to catch our flagship show, the MUBUTV Insider Video Series, airing every week on YouTube at youtube.com/MUBUTV. This show was produced and created by Ritch, Esra, and Eric Knight. This show would not be here if it weren't for our amazing team, which are the following: interview editors Sarah Nissenbaum and Alex Taylor. Show notes and transcriptions by Jani Chang, Nikoka Bodoglo, Lilia Owens, and Sarah Nissenbaum. Theme music by Disciples of Babylon. And be sure to tune in next week for another episode of the MUBUTV Insider Podcast.